Welcome to the Massillon City Council meeting for Monday, July 6, 2020. We have in attendance with us the following city officials that I'm aware of: Safety Service Director Barb Sylvester, Chief Deputy Auditor Debbie Bonk, Law Director Justin Richard, Economic Development Director David Maley. Am I missing anyone?
You have
Lori
Bill
Cuddy
Bartos.
is present.
Who?
Lori Katagides-Boron.
Thank you, Lori. Anyone else?
Bill Bartos from the Law Department.
Thank you, Bill. All right, hearing no one else.
Jane Ferraro.
John Ferraro, thank you.
No, Jane.
Jane Ferraro? Is she on?
See her listed.
I don't hear her. Okay, on the wall, no, there aren't. Under number 5 on the agenda is where the public can speak on any item that appears on tonight's agenda. And then again, under number 17 is where the public can speak on any item that does not appear on tonight's agenda. I'd like to remind you, please, if you have a cell phone, set it to mute, vibrate, or turn it off. I would also like to ask anyone, whether it's council or anyone joining the meeting, that if you are not speaking, please mute your microphone so we can keep the background sound to a minimum. Roll call.
Creamer.
Present.
Gregg.
Present.
Halter.
Here.
Hernkane.
Here.
Lewis.
Present.
Littman.
Here.
Lombardi. Lombardi.
Here.
Sterrett.
Here.
And Therrett.
Present.
Roll call of 9 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All present and accounted for. Councilwoman Littman.
Thank you, Madam President. Will you please join me in the Lord's Prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Littman. Madam Clerk, are the minutes from the previous meeting transcribed and open for public viewing?
Yes, they are.
Are there any additions or corrections to be made?
No, there are not.
We're at number 5 on the agenda, where any citizen may speak on any matter that appears on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, do it one at a time. Please state your name, address, topic you wish to discuss. And if 2 people are talking at the same time, if one could just defer to the other, that would be greatly appreciated. And try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Is anyone ready to talk on any item that is on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 6, new and miscellaneous business. Does anyone have anything? Council people? I had a call today from a constituent, and seeing that some cities are making mask wearing mandatory, and I am not pushing this in any way, shape, or form, but I will address it because I was asked. Does anyone know if the city administration is looking into any of this, or is it still up to the individual?
Madam President, it's Barb Sylvester.
Thank you, Barb.
I can answer for you. At this present time, we are still following the governor's orders and listening to our health department as well. So that is not something that is mandated at the present time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will pass the information along. Anyone
Thank you.
else? All right, moving into introduction of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 67, 2020.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1100 General Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, this ordinance is $120,000 appropriation to accumulate sick. This is to cover the cost of payouts for retiring employees. Are there any questions or discussion? Madam President, seeing none, I make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bring ordinance number 87-2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by?
Starrett,
Roll call for suspension.
Okay, Ed, did you say 87 or 67?
I tell you what, age is catching up to me, 67.
Don't go there, Ed.
I zoomed
Okay.
in, don't worry, I can read it now.
Okay, Greg,
Yes, for suspension.
Alter? Yes. Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Creamer?
Creamer?
Eh.
Got a yes? 9 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Madam President,
And for passage.
Alter? Yes. Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Greg.
Yes.
9 yes for pass.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 67, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 68, 2020.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1420 Project Grants Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, this would be an appropriation of $65,000 to the Millennium Boulevard Extension Project. Are there any questions or discussion this evening?
Mr. Lewis,
Yes,
Madam
Mr.
President,
thank you. Madam President, I have a conflict of interest and cannot, and in good conscience, cannot vote on this matter due to my prior employment. I signed the original agreement as MDF director.
Councilman Lewis?
And my father is still the current MDF executive director, and they have an interest in this contract as well.
I would think that his original statement is valid. If he signed the original contract, that makes sense that there's a conflict there. That we just had a conversation with the law department. The rules aren't clear as to whether or not council has to, well, what we haven't decided is whether or not council has to cast a vote accepting the abstention. Not that Mr. Hearn King's reasoning is not valid, but the way the rules are stated, that has not been clearly vetted. if that makes sense.
When will we know the answer to that?
When we have more conversation, I guess.
Okay,
The last conversation I had, and we can pull in the law director, they have their opinion, but ultimately it comes to council as to how we want to conduct and interpret our rules.
and how do you see them, Mr. Lewis?
I would see them that it would be, especially since it would appear to me, unless some other council person has another opinion, that this is a pretty clear-cut example of he signed the original contract. He obviously has a conflict in the fact that he signed the contract that got the gears rolling on this particular project. I would say we just cast a vote real quick, just make sure we cover all our bases, and then we can have further conversation at the work session as how do we want to move forward on such issues.
That's fine with me. Any other comments before we make a vote? Okay, Diane,
I just have a quick question.
go right ahead.
Thanks, Madam President. The project's already finished? Or is it, where are we in this project? Does anyone know?
Madam President,
Yes,
Madam
Mr.
President,
Foley.
Dave Mealy.
Thank you.
This is Dave Mealy. The project is finished. Shares moved into the facility last August.
Thank you, David.
So then this is just our portion that we have to pay.
Actually, no. This is actually, there was a couple different components to this project, but this particular component dealt with a ODOT, State of Ohio ODOT grant that was given to the piece of the project that dealt with the building of the road to get to the facility. And basically, it's almost like a pass-through. It has to come through the city to the owner of the project.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Maley? Councilman Lewis.
I guess I would start with, I make a motion that for council to accept the request of abstaining of Mr. Hernkane, provided the given reason of this evening.
Seconded by?
Jim.
Sorry, I didn't get who that was.
Second by Jim Farron.
Roll call?
Does that have to be someone on the finance committee, or is this just council as a committee of the whole?
On this particular one, I'm not opposed to it just being someone as council on the whole, because it's not really voting on the finances. It's just voting on Ted's abstinence from the vote.
Okay, now, do I mark that on the back of the actual ordinance about the abstention? And then are we going to, the suspension and then the passage? Should I include the abstention?
I would
How-
for record keeping, but I would still have to make another motion after this.
Okay, so this will be on the abstention.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Hernkane, I start with you. Do I ask everybody else except Hernkane? Okay.
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Pittman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Reamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Halter. Yes. 8 yes for the abstention of Councilman Hernkane voting on ordinance number 68.
2020. Thanks, Diane. In the past, I know we've had people abstain from votes. In the past, how have you handled this?
This is the first time I've ever had to go this route. People have just stated that they would abstain, and I remember some time back, even when Sarita Cunningham was on council, and she should have abstained from the payment of a bill. and we had to come back and make that correction, but we never voted.
Okay,
Right, and Ted has abstained twice before, and we never voted on it.
And Madam President, that's why I said we talk about the work session, because abstentions are not common, and it seems that they've come a little bit more frequently as of late. And we probably need to clarify this, especially with some of the issues that we're dealing with are talking about, large sums of potential liability and exposure for the city. We want to make sure we have everything squared away properly. So that's why I figured we talk about it next work session.
that sounds good to me. Thank you. Okay, Councilman Lewis?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, bring ordinance number 68-2020 forward for a vote.
Seconded by?
Seconded by Mike Craig.
Roll call for suspension?
Littman, Littman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter, yes, and Lewis.
Yes.
Should I still call on Herr Hernkane for him to say that he abstained?
Legally, I'm not certain. Mr. Richard, are you there?
Yes,
Did you hear Diane's question?
I did, and quite honestly, and I understand council's way of wanting to proceed, but quite honestly, well, never mind. We'll talk about it next week. I suppose that the abstention should be marked for the record.
Thank you.
Okay, Hernkane,
Abstain.
thank you. 8 yes and 1 abstain for suspension.
And for passage?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Starrett,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Halter, yes, Hernkane,
Abstain.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Littman.
Yes.
8 yes and 1 abstain.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 68, 2020 has passed. Ordinance number 69, 2020.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1100 General Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, Madam President, there are additional questions regarding this ordinance. My intent is to call an executive session at the beginning of the next council meeting so that we can get those questions answered. With that said, first reading.
So you're calling an executive session for the 14th or
The
20th?
Yeah, I'll call one at that time, but just kind of give everybody a heads up.
Okay, first reading. Thank you. Ordinance number 69, 2020 has received first reading. Ordinance number 70, 2020.
An ordinance making certain transfers in the 2020 appropriations from within the 1100 General Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
First reading.
Thank you. Ordinance number 70, 2020 has received first reading. Madam Clerk, is there any unfinished business?
No, there is not.
Are there any petitions and general communications?
No, there are not.
Are there any bills, accounts, or claims?
Yes, we have a bill in the amount of $397.60 for the publication of our April ordinances.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, I make a motion to pay the bills.
Seconded by,
Sterrett,
roll call.
Sterrett,
yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Alter,
Yes.
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
Yes.
9 yes to pay the bills.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The clerk will pay the bills and charge them to their proper accounts. Are there any reports from city officials?
Yes, we have the treasurer's report for May 2020 and the auditor's report for May 2020.
Councilman Lewis,
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the auditor's report.
seconded by,
Sterrett,
roll call.
Barrett,
Yes.
Creamer,
yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Alter, yes. Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
and Sterrett.
Yes.
9 yes to accept the auditor's report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The auditor's report has been accepted. Reports of committees. Our next committee meeting will be next Monday, July 18th at 6. Resolutions and requests of council members.
Madam President, I had an update for committees.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, today, most of us should have received the email from our income tax director regarding our collections and revenues. So there was some good information in there, and I hope we had a chance to review it. At our next work session, so on the 14th, as stated by the president, I am requesting that the income tax director and the city auditor be present for that meeting so that we can review current revenues and projections after the first 6 months of 2020, so we can have a better understanding of how we look moving forward.
Councilman Lewis, I believe that's the 13th and not the 14th. Yep. Is it correct? Okay. Thank you.
In addition to that, instead of waiting, this would be more streets and highways with Mr. Tharp. I was wondering if the administration could give us an update with the passive speed enforcement or monitoring equipment that we passed for them to look into purchasing.
Madam President, I
Yes,
can
Ms.
answer.
Robinson, Thank you.
Yes, we can have that information together.
Would that
Anyone
be for next Monday?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All
Thank
of the
you.
calendar, nothing. Thank you. Third reading ordinances, nothing. Second reading ordinances, nothing. Work number 17, where anybody from the community can speak on any topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please state your name, address, and topic you wish to discuss.
Madam President, it's Jane Ferrero, and I would like to have just an opportunity to address council if I could.
Please.
I wanted to let you all know that our audit for this year has been completed by Clark Schaefer, and as the last 3 and 4 years, we had a perfect audit. We had no findings, and so we don't have to have a post-audit meeting, which is really very good because of the fact that we don't want to be in a large group. I do want to thank my office for the wonderful work they do, but I also want to extend my gratitude to all of the departments in the city of Massillon, because with the guidance of the mayor and with other elected officials, we could have not done this without all of their cooperation. So that's pretty darn good that we continue to do well and follow the rules and the regulations. And I thank you for all of your cooperation as well.
Congratulations, Jane, and to your department as well. Is there anyone from the community that would like to speak? Hearing none, Councilwoman Littman,
I make a motion, we adjourn. I make a motion, we adjourn.
seconded by,
Lewis seconds.
meeting adjourned. Thank you all.